again. So I started doing the live session and then several things happened and I needed to interrupt. So I'm back here and I want to talk about what kind of hard truth that we're not willing to hear from other people. And also what kind of hard truth that we're not willing to say to someone else. And I want to focus today about what kind of hard truth we're not willing to hear. And then I may do another one where we talk about what kind of hard truth we're not willing to tell someone, especially when they need to hear it. I have been coaching several clients on transitioning and how they keep repeating the same problems or same mistakes or same journey and how they keep staying stuck. And sometimes I offer them what is the hard truths that they may not be willing or wanting to hear that would actually help them free themselves from this loop and from this stuck place. And the reason why obviously we don't want to hear hard truth, even though that would be so necessary for us to recognize what we're doing and how to get out of it, is because it feels very hurtful or it feels triggering. It feels we just need to go to the defense or to the offense, and we get so hung up in the defensive place or in the triggering place, in the offensive place, that we're not willing to or able to look at what is it that we're not willing to hear, right? And most importantly, why aren't we willing to hear? And I believe that coaching is one of those great tools that keeps and creates safety, where we are able to, as a coach, I'm able to help you see the hard truths that you are not willing to see or hear from other people around. Because usually friends and family or colleagues, they may have very much difficulty hearing that they may have difficulty telling you that hard truth, especially if we're not trained how to do it in the safe, healthy way, instead of ruining in unhealthy way, right? Or abusive way. And I have found to be coaching one of the maybe rare occasions where you are able to talk about it, you're able to discuss it, and you're able to see what is it that you are not willing to see otherwise. So let's go into discussing what is the hard truth and what are the hard truths that I'm working on that I haven't or I didn't want to hear before, and what are the hard truths that you might not be willing to hear. And then what you can do about it is the part that I want to invite you to my event today at 1 p.m. Central European Summertime, where we're discussing emotional freedom, which is part of being able to hear the hard truth because you are emotionally regulated, and you are also able to tell hard truths to someone in the healthy way, again because you are emotionally regulated and you are emotionally free. So the hard truths that could have been said to many leaders, especially in the UN, especially in some of the agencies, specific agencies within UN, that could have maybe prevented some of the crisis. When the crisis happened, in the funding crisis happened last year, right? I feel a lot of the conversation was about how either the donor stopped giving money, so in some shape or form blaming the donor and or blaming the system without really particularly talking about what is it within the system that wasn't working and why it hasn't been working. We went into a lot of the blame discussion or a lot of the reform discussion, both of which sounded like we're just trying to do things for the sake of showing somehow we're doing something without really believing if that will fundamentally change something, right? And that is the hard truth that I mean, is if we're not able to hear the hard truth about how we were not able to withstand any similar type of crisis, then obviously we haven't been able to hear the hard truths for a long time as a system, as an organization, right? And that's the hard truths that I'm talking about. And that can be applicable at the organizational level as well as at the personal level. And I want to talk about more from the personal level because that's what I know best. But you can extrapolate probably for the organizational level as well. So imagine in an organization that is very large, and that leader of that organization is not able to hear the hard truth of why we weren't able to withstand that crisis. And no one is able to send the message to this leader that these are the reasons why we're not looking at our own problems, right? And the same goes for each individual level. And I want to share my own experience of how, for how many years, I haven't been able to hear my own hard truth that kept me repeating the same mistake over and over again. And that hard truth, at some point, I heard from my husband after 5 years, I believe. And when I heard it, it felt in the moment the most hurtful thing that I could hear, even though he didn't mean to make it hurtful. He was just reflecting the truth of what I kept doing over and over again. And then feeling so much victim in that situation. And I will talk more about what that was. But the part that I really want to highlight is hard truth is the truth that when you hear it, you feel so much in the defensive mode, you feel so triggered, but also you feel so hurt. And when you are hearing it, then you just want to go and attack the person. And when you want to just either defend it or attack the person or deflect it to something else, because you just feel like you're not able to hear it, you're not able to handle it, right? And I have two examples that I'm working on. One I have resolved, the other one I'm still working on. But the one that my husband told me the hard truth, that I now in hindsight really feel grateful for him telling it. But at the moment when I heard it, and it was in Kyrgyzstan, I think last year, I remember. Was it last year? Yes, I think last year, exactly. Last year around this time. So I was in a restaurant with him for a random breakfast, and I started again talking about how I have been giving and giving to my sister and the children, and they grew up, they are all grown up now. But I was talking about how for the last 20 years that I've been giving them money, giving them this and giving them that to be able to get them on their feet, and they didn't. And here are the why and how. And I was talking on about how poor me doing all this thing for them and they didn't do anything with it story, right? This was my story for, I think, the longest time, that I have been giving everything that I have to my family and nothing to show for it, kind of the story. And then my husband pointed out something that I find such a brilliant way, that he told me that, Asel, you've been talking about this to me at least for 5 years. You've been talking about this to the family at least for 20 years, if not more, right? And it's the same story. He was telling me, right? He was telling me that it's the same story. It's the same story of you keep trying to help them and them not doing according to what you expect them to. And then you keep feeling frustrated about them and then bitching about them and then nothing changing. And in the moment when I heard this, I was so like, oh, I was so upset, right? I was so upset. I couldn't even like determine in the moment whether I was upset with myself or with him or everyone else. But I also recognized in that moment, while I was processing all of these emotions, discussing with him, also attacking him a little and saying that how could you tell me this, or how could you even say this, I did all of these things, right? But the great thing about my husband is he never lets me stay in the victim mode, because he knows that I not only don't like it, but I also I'm not that type of powerless person anyway. And I believe that no one in the world, no person is powerless. We have way too much power to be staying in the victim mode. But yet here I am. I was in that mode of poor me doing all the things and them not following what I say they should. And then here I am, and then repeating this again for 20 years. Can you imagine? And then in that moment when he said that you've been talking to me for 5 years about this, that 5 years that we know each other, and you've been talking to them for 20 years, and if you didn't change anything about it, about your situation, basically what he was saying is get your shit together, right? And I am grateful that there was someone who was able to point out to me and mirror to me my bullshit story. And the hard truth is this, is the story or the mirroring or the reflection that someone gives you that says you keep doing this to yourself for all these years, and you keep complaining and whining and feeling sorry for yourself, or even pissed about other people, and you keep doing the same thing over and over again, and then nothing changes, and then you are in the same place again and again, and then you just assume that you can't do anything with it, yet you keep attacking everyone around you. And what is up with that, essentially, is the hard truth. And that was my hard truth, right? So once I heard this, and once it was like we went for breakfast, as I said. By the time we were talking and finishing, and me crying, and then me being defensive, and then attacking, and then coming back to realizing, why am I even doing this, right? After all of this, coming to my senses, I realized, oh my God, I needed to hear this so that I wake up finally and say, if I kept expecting things from my sister's children and they didn't do the way that I thought they should, and me feeling pissed about all of this, and then keep doing that for 20 years, then I should really get my shit together and start looking at, okay, what am I going to do about this? Right? And in that moment, I started making some decisions as to I no longer expect anything from them, because it is no longer my place to expect anything from them, because they're adults and they have decided to do whatever they want to do with their lives. And I cannot stand there and keep controlling their lives. That's the one thing that I have decided. And the second thing I've decided, I also am no longer keep putting myself in this powerless situation where I keep giving money and then I keep expecting them and then they keep doing whatever they do and then me frustrated. That behavior is stopping there. And that's how I have stopped all of this. And most importantly, I have stopped seeing myself as someone who always gives and gives and nothing to show for it, kind of a pity seeking person. I have stopped myself being in that situation any longer, right? So this is what I say, what I'm talking about when I say about hard truth is some of the hard truths that we may need to hear that we're not willing to hear currently because it may hurt so much, or it may make us realize how we have been doing the same thing over and over and having the same result, and then feeling bad about that result, and then feeling like we can't do anything about it, and then again make things worse. We then feel like we have wasted all of our lives and all of our time and all of this and all of that, and then even worsening the situation. So instead, we need to start looking at, okay, whatever that hard truth is, once we hear it, whether someone tells us to us, or whether we hear it ourselves, or whether we shake ourselves, we need to then start looking at, okay, what are we going to do about it? And the second hard truth that I want to talk to you about, that I'm still working on to this day, and I really, I'm also getting coaching on this, and I'm getting myself shaken up. I don't know the right word, right? And that hard truth that I'm not willing to hear is how, when I talk about on social media, when I talk about all of the problems and solutions that I keep proposing, I can see myself that I'm not open, or I have difficulty hearing other people's comments about how I might not be saying the right things, or how they may not be understanding it, or how they may have other views, right? Whatever it is, that I can see myself not willing to hear it. And I can see myself that if they comment, especially if there are hatreds, or if there are comments that I'm not prepared to hear. And of course, I'm not talking about abusive things and illegal things that I don't even want to engage in. That's not what I'm saying. But the hard truths that I may need to hear to grow, that is actually, if I remove my hurt feelings, if I removed my defensiveness and offensiveness, then I probably would look at it and say, oh, yes, they're right, right? Just like my previous example, that after having processed all of my hurt feelings about how my husband could say this and XYZ, I start seeing that he was right about me talking about this, my family, for 20 years, and talking to him about it for 5 years that we know each other. So when it comes to transitioning, some of the hard truths that humanitarians may need to hear, and you also ask yourself what kind of hard truths you need to hear that gets you out of that stuck place, that gets you out of that loop that you keep behaving the same way over and over again. And another one that you may need to reflect on is, what kind of emotional state you need to be in so that you are able to hear that, right? And some of the times, that hard truths that I see that some of my clients are not willing to hear is the truth around how they might be so much staying in the blaming this thing and this thing and the system and others, and not really deciding what to do next. And again, I'm not saying don't blame it, even though I don't think that there is ever a point of blaming, but, and I don't want to sound like the system is not a problem or other people are not a problem. There are certainly a lot of things going on that we could be solving with the system. And the question though is that really where good use of our time and energy should be spent currently, especially if you are in the situation where you need to get the next job or where you need to solve things fast? Is that really where you need to be spending your time solving the system's problem? Right? And this is the thing, is that if you keep staying in the this is the problem and they are the problem and I'm not, then you're not able to move forward to what you want to, because you will be so much in the, just like the my example was my family, you will be so much in the victim mode, you will be so much in the they shouldn't have done this but they are doing it and poor me mode. And the more you are in that mode, the more you are not able to make decisions and take actions. And the same goes for any other situation where, whether it's a relationship, right? Whether it's a relationship where maybe you have been thinking about ending this relationship and you're not able to, for whatever reason that you keep coming up with. And then if you heard the truth though from someone or maybe from yourself as to how you don't see the future of this relationship, but you still keep doing the same thing over and over again by not ending it, that's really where you then get stuck and you're not able to move forward. And the same goes for restoring or saving marriage, right? If that's really the hard truths you need to be hearing about how and what would it take for you to save the marriage, but you are not able to hear that truth because you are so hurt already, or because you are so in this blaming mode, in this complaining mode, in this indulging mode. And because you keep staying in that, then again, you are not able to move out of that loop. So while we'll be talking today at 1 p.m., as I said, about what to do about hard truths and how to hear them in the way that's helpful for you, I just want to leave you with this, that every one of us, I feel, needs to either have someone or they themselves be so aware of hearing what that hard truth is that we're not willing to hear, or we're not willing to look at it, we're not willing to admit it, just like I was, it was my situation. And because we're not willing to admit it, we're not willing to hear it, we're also then willing to stay in that loop, willing to stay in that hurtful situation and harmful situation even further. And the more we stay in it, the more dependent we become, the more addicted we become, the more powerless we become, especially if we're talking about the system dependency, right? And the only thing that will help us shake a bit and get out of this situation is by hearing that hard truth and deciding what to do with it. And that's why my really big goal was my Transitioning Humanitarians community, where I'm offering individual and group coaching, is help people create this safe space where they're able to see their own hard truth. They're able to see their own hard truth about why they're not deciding, why they're not taking action towards they want to, or how they're doing it half-ass way or not committed way, and how they're not still seeing the outcomes they want to. And I would really love for you to take the time to do this work with me, either today in this free session or this Thursday, where as part of the community, as part of the combo of individual and group coaching, where we're looking at, okay, what is one truth, one hard truth that you're not willing to hear, or you're not willing to act on it, because it feels safer and easier to just stay in the how bad it is and how wronged we are and how bad the system is and whatever it is that we're just staying in, not realizing that that's how we're just spending so much time and energy being in the same very situation that we don't want to be in. So if you're ready for this, if you're ready to do this work, then today is the time to come. And then Thursday to come to the community where we're doing this. And we're getting serious and saying, okay, we need to feel powerful again to be doing something. And the only way to do that is if we're is hearing and seeing that hard truth and deciding what to do with it. Have a beautiful